Hello and welcome. If it's the first time for you to tune in here in this page, then my name is Ahmed Khalid and I am the founder and CEO for GSP for Supply Chain Solutions and S&OP Solutions as well. And today also we will cover a great episode and a great session where most companies they struggle on. And our core topic today will be around the forecasting and specifically the forecasting metrics. But before jumping into these forecasting metrics, I want to ask you a question. Why do we need to forecast in the supply chain? And when we ask this question to many companies they think when they have agile supply chain or just a supply chain with a local portfolio where all supply tiers or all of their suppliers they are very localized and not into imported suppliers, they think they don't need to forecast. And actually, this is one of the biggest mistakes when you think by this way. Because forecasting, it's a way bigger than just ordering or just localizing or all of this. And let me just take you through the three things or the three levels that forecasting is aiming for. And the first level that we need to focus on, which is the strategical purpose. And when I'm thinking with you loudly, why do we need to forecast? Inside S&OP, you will see most people, they speak commonly, they speak by volumes. But at a certain point of time, these volumes needs to be cashed. And this is for definitely a financial purpose. And our financial purpose here is very strategical because you need to make sure all of the volumes that you build it in your S&OP is aligned with your vision of the company or the strategy of the company and specifically the financial plans or the financial growth. And from that level, you have to look into a longer term. That's why it could be from 3 to 5 years. I see how my company will perform. So forecasting will allow you to see, are you aligned with your financial forecast, financial plans? Yes or no. The second level that under the strategical also purpose, which is the strategical buying. And when I talk about strategical buying, for some industries, you will see that they are looking into a long-term contracts. For instance, like some industries that they are looking for, let's say bidding or tendering, they want to close a long-term contract deals, let's say for crops or let's say for anything that needs to be close the deal instantaneously, because if we don't close the contract or close the volumes right now and deal with the supplier, then we will have an extra cost in the future because the price of the commodity or the materials will fluctuate. So I close the deals instantaneously for a specific period. So forecasting, without forecasting specifically, if I don't have forecast, I will not have a visibility in the future and I will not know the volumes of these strategical materials. So strategical buying is one of the forecasting methods or the techniques that we need to focus on. When we move from a strategical level into another level, which is the tactical level, and let me think with you also on that level, what is the asset utilization? And without forecasting, how I will be able to project my asset utilization. For example, if I'm looking at a warehouse capacity right now, and I see if I don't see the forecast for the future, if I don't see the forecast for 1 year, what will happen is, if there is a peak in the demand, and if I don't have the capacity that will fulfill this demand, then I will have unfulfilled demand at this period. So seeing the forecast earlier will allow me to plan earlier and fulfill all of this capacity. Let's say for warehouse capacity, I can rent another warehouse with a specific amount or just a rental contracts with another third party, so I can move and fulfill this demand because I know I cannot, at this period, I will not be able to fulfill this demand because my warehouse capacity cannot fulfill it. Another one also could be my fleet utilization. Let's say I don't have these containers or transportation methods, or let's say trucks available. Let's say I'm using my fleets and I have a specific amount of my trucks And also there is a peak of forecast or demand in the future. If I don't see this peak, then I will have also unfulfilled demand. This also could be replicated from the manufacturing side. If I have a line that has a capacity utilization, it's above, let's say, 90% as a risk zone, what will happen is I will have also unfulfilled demand. So all of these forecasts will allow me to predict the future and plan earlier. Maybe I could have, or I need to have capital expenses, CapExes. So I need to raise these CapExes in order to fulfill this demand earlier and earlier. The lowest level, which is the operational purpose. And from that level, I would say thinking about distribution. Because most companies that they're working with push strategies, let's say that they have CDCs, central distribution centers, and they are pushing their stocks or inventory from their CDCs to DCs across the region, then they need to split the forecast. Because without splitting the forecast, you will not be able to push your stocks from CDCs to DCs. So you have to split the forecast at the operational level. And what I'm saying here in operational level, the day-to-day operations, executions. So if without this forecast, I need to push my DRP, the deployment replenishment planning. Without seeing the forecast at each DC, then I will not be able to have the net requirements that will come at the CDC. So distribution, it's one of the operational purpose that we have it in supply chain to use the forecast on a daily basis. Another one, which is the inventory planning. And inventory planning, definitely here, I see the projected movement from stocks from CDC to DCs or from a node to node, just to see my projected forecast or projected inventory planning. Because forecast will drive always the net requirements and also will control definitely the inventory projection for each echelon or for each DC in your supply chain. So forecasting will also allow you to control your inventory and see the projection of your inventory in the future. So without forecasting, again, you will not be able to have a strategical, tactical, or operational purpose. That's why I'm asking each company to think in a different way. The other one, which is the order fulfillment. So we can connect this with the distribution. Because without forecasting, I will not be able to push the stocks or even pull the stocks. So I will not, without seeing this forecast, I will not see the stocks in the right place for the right time for the right customers. So this will also control my order fulfillment on a daily basis or hourly basis or even at momently basis with my customers. So without forecasting, I will not be able to fulfill my orders with the customers. So we just had an overview, why do we need to forecast? But now, why do we need to measure the forecast? This is one of the most important questions. Now we know why do we need forecast, but why do we need to measure the forecast? And I want you to think with me for a little bit. Forecasting, it's most important, and specifically the matrix for forecasting, it's balancing, most probably balancing between two things, inventory and service level. Because for my supply chain or my forecasting matrix, if I have inventory and if I have a service level, if my forecast, it's let's say X, and if I have actuals above this X, it means that I consumed from my safety stock or my cycle stock. Then if I don't just replenish by this way, what will happen is I'll be out of stock. And the other way around, if I just underachieve less than the forecast, what will happen is if I don't just rectify the forecast for the future, what will happen is that my stocks or inventory will have a high coverage. And if I'm staying in a company with perishable products or a specific shelf lifetime, then I'll be most probably near expiry if I don't take the appropriate actions on a spot. So forecasting matrix is very essential to measure this kind of two things, which is service level and inventory. And we will go into details right now. Now let's jump into the forecast matrix. Actually, there are two things that are measuring our forecast. The forecast accuracy percentage and the forecast bias percentage. Let's take an example here to understand the difference between the forecast accuracy and forecast bias. Assume with me that there is a forecast for a specific SKU or a specific product with this straight line, let's say 100 cases. And we have three choices or three, I would say, possibility for our sales to happen. Either it will be our sales above the forecast, and in this manner or this possibility, we are saying that it's positive. So our sales is above our forecast, right? So it means that we are positively biased. So our sales is above our forecast. So we are always in the positive side. Or we could be like our forecast is equal to the sales. And at this time, our bias is equal to 0 because our sales is equal to our forecast. And the third possibility, which will be our sales will be lower than the forecast that we are having. Let's say 100, it will be less than 100. And in that case, it means that our sales, it's lower than our forecast. So it means that we are negatively biased in that level. So this is just described what is the forecast bias. And let me give you the formula for the forecast bias. And forecast bias percentage is equal to sales over forecast minus 1. So if my sales, again, to get it in the right choice, if my sales is above my forecast, then I'm in the positive side. So I am a positive biased. If my sales is lower than the forecast, then I'm negatively biased. If my sales are equal to the forecast, then I am 0 biased. And I'll take you just step by step. Just don't just get it in that way. I'll make it very easy by the coming example. So forecast bias, it's sales over forecast minus 1. Another one, which is the second matrix, which is our forecast accuracy. And forecast accuracy here, it's totally different little bit, which is equal to 1 minus absolute error, the error of sales minus forecast over the sales. What does it mean by here, the absolute error? Imagine with me that I have a forecast of 100. If I sold the 80, then I have error of 20 because I'm negatively biased by 20%, right? Down my forecast. And at the same time, my error, which is the difference between sales and forecast, is equal to 20 cases. The same manner from the other side, if I sold 120 and my forecast was 100, then my absolute error will be also the same, 20, because it will be equal to 120 minus 100. Then almost both way will have the same errors. Let's take little bit also more example to understand the difference between forecast accuracy and forecast bias. Let's take this example. If I'm asking you right now, let's calculate what we have discussed before, which is the forecast accuracy and forecast bias for this example. If we have a forecast of 200 cases and actuals of sales as of 200 cases, our forecast bias percentage, let's take the same formula, equal to sales over forecast minus 1, which will be at this time sales over forecast, which is 200 over 200 minus 1, then it will be 0%. So it means that my sales equal to my forecast. So my forecast bias equals 0%. So I'm very good in that manner, right? Because I sold whatever I forecasted. So there is no issues from my inventory and also from my service level if I don't have any constraints. Let's calculate also for the forecast bias, our forecast accuracy at this time, which is equal to 1 minus absolute error, which is sales minus forecast over sales. At this time, you will see my forecast accuracy, it's equal 100%. Because again, whatever I sold is equal to my forecast, then it's 100%. But hold for a moment. When we just look at a category or a segment point of view, we don't look at it from that perspective. Because we are selling or we're just forecasting for a longer or bigger portfolio, not just small portfolio or lump sum. So let's take a little bit example just to understand the full view on a segment level or a category level or even channel level. Let's take this example. If I have 2 SKUs, just for simplicity, a portfolio of my category of 2 SKUs. And my forecast for these two SQs is equal 100 for SQ1 and 100 for SQ2. So my total forecast was 200. But this is the game here. What about if my SQ1 sold 200 and my SQ2 sold 0? Do you think that my forecast accuracy and forecast bias for this category will be the same calculation that I had before? I doubt. Let's take it in that way. Let's take the bias on SQ level, calculated on this level. For SQ1, my bias will be 100%, because again, I sold over my forecast by 100. So my bias at this level will be 100%. For SQ2 will be the opposite, because my forecast was 100 and I didn't sell anything. So it's negative 100%. By offsetting both, my forecast bias will be 0% if we do the same calculation, because it's offsetting whatever positive with whatever negative. Then my forecast bias is 0%. So at a category level, at this level, I sold 200 and my forecast was 200, then my forecast bias is 0%. Now here is the challenge. When it comes to forecast accuracy, I will calculate the absolute error at each SQ. And if you remember, when we look at it from total perspective, it was 100% our forecast accuracy. But here is the difference. When we just look at a category level, our forecast accuracy should calculate the absolute error at SQ level, not at the total level, at SQ level. And in our case here for SQ1, our absolute error, which is absolute error between forecast and sales, will be 100, because 200 minus 100. And in that case for SQ2, it will be also 100, because it will be the absolute error between sales minus forecast was 0 and 100. And when we just calculate the forecast accuracy, we need to take this into consideration, which is the absolute error at each SQ level, not at a total level, at each SQ level. We accumulated whatever errors on each SQ, and this will be our absolute error. Let's take the example at this time for our forecast accuracy at SQ level. Forecast accuracy, as we said, it's 1 minus absolute sales minus forecast over sales. At this level, which is the absolute error which is sales minus forecast at SQ level, will be 200. Then 1 minus absolute 200 over 200, then our absolute or our forecast accuracy here will be 0%, both for forecast bias, 0%, and forecast accuracy will be 0%. Just in a simple way, forecast bias, it gives you an overview over the segment, how you are performing. If I sold over my forecast, then it's positive bias. If I sold under the forecast, then it's negative bias. It takes, or it just offsetting whatever errors in such ways, whether it's positive or negative. So we are aggregating these errors and offsetting it both ways. But forecast accuracy, it gives you the mix of the products for each category at SQ level. So in that case, you see that if my category just sold 200 and my forecast was 200, then my bias is 0%. But it doesn't mean that my forecast accuracy, it's 100%, because I need to see how the absolute error at each SQ level it comes. And in our case here, you see that our SQ1 just sold 200 and forecast was 100, and the SQ2 sold 0. However, our forecast was 100% or 100 cases. I hope that you understand the difference between the two metrics, and I want you to apply it in your company step by step. And in case if you want just any type of consultancy in terms of S&OP consultation or inventory optimization, sourcing strategies, warehouse design, please don't hesitate to contact us at support@gspconsultancy.com, and we will provide you with the full solutions, because we are not just using the one-size-fits-all solutions for supply chain. We are providing a tailor-made supply chain solutions which will help you accelerate your organization and grow your margins, profits, and optimizing your supply chain cost at any time. So I'm just excited to look and looking forward to see you in the next session. Thank you.